Hello everybody, my name is Luke Mar and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we're getting into the Vanity Fair Oscars After Party Fashion Roast and Review Part 3. Because honestly, we're done after this. We're done with the Oscars. I'm over it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're starting off with Sawai, who is wearing a dress by Vivienne Westwood and jewelry by Cartier. Honestly, it's nice. It's not super exciting. It's also not really super Westwood in my mind. I think it's something about the form-fitting crystals and like the lack of a drape that I'm like, oh, Westwood? But I think it's still nice. I still think it fits well. I like this curved plunge. I think the jewelry works. Honestly, that big green stone looks fantastic. I think it plays well into the hair. Nice dress, not super exciting. Next up, we have Bowen Yang, who's wearing Versace. It's a pretty boring black suit, although I do think it fits him really, really well. I like the cut of it. I think that it actually accentuates the waist. I think the pants work well. I like the boot, and I do like the tie. I like the fact that it's not like a boring bow tie. It's this sort of like undone bow tie with a button in the middle, and that's how it sort of latches on there. But again, I think that subtle ways of making black traditional suiting look good or more interesting and different and unique is kind of what we should be striving for in menswear. I think it's the thing that needs to be happening. I do think that we're entering an era of boring suiting coming back. Subtle ways that brands can make them feel a little less repetitive. I'll take it. Next up, we have Camila Cabello, who is wearing Alexis Mabille and Akillis jewelry. I love this dress on her. I actually think this is probably the best Camila Cabello has looked maybe ever. Yes, the dress is wrinkling in the front and like boo, but the rest of the dress is honestly so fantastic. I think that this color is amazing on her. And I actually love this plunge. I love this idea of the dress having the back of the corset actually in the front and still being pulled together. It's exposing the body most definitely, but I love the concept that it's still covered up. Like the strings that are lacing the corset are obviously keeping the body somewhat covered, even though it is quite a low plunge. And I like the fact that it looks like the dress is opening or the corset is opening. I think it's a fun concept. And again, I feel like what I've been seeing a lot in the comments, because I do read the comments. And also I think the general sentiment from people is nobody's like offended by, or some people are, but most people aren't offended by nudity and like cutouts and exposing the body. I think that people are sort of now like, all right, I get it that you can do that, but can you do that in an interesting way or a way that doesn't just feel like, oh, my body, here it is. That's the look. And so I think this is a good example to me that you can expose the body most definitely, but is there an interesting way to expose the body, tell the story, and make not just an exposed body part that's meant to be like, gasp, scary, cool, and different, and a little fun. So I really enjoyed this. I thought the color looked fantastic. Loved. Next up, we have Coco Gauff. Honestly, I would have preferred this to the look from the Oscars. I like this Miu Miu gown much, much better than the other Miu Miu gown. To me, these crystals are like the crystals that I expect from Miu Miu. I will say, I was at the show in Paris and there were a couple girls wearing like a brown version of this dress that was actually cut a little higher. It was maybe like knee length. I loved it. I thought that they looked the best. It just was an interesting look, an interesting take. This crystal frayed slip style, like it just felt young and cool and fresh. And I think that this is a good example of that. I love the clusters. I like the dark green and I like the sort of silvery clear versions. I like that they create these little fan shapes as well with little mini crystals. And then slowly it dissipates. She's wearing a watch by Rolex. It must be a tennis thing. And honestly, like, I think it looks good. I think it fits the bill of Miu Miu, and it looks better than the other look, so I'm going to take it. Thank you, Coco. Next up, we have Colman Domingo, who's wearing Dolce & Gabbana, as well as Omega and Boucheron. I'm going to be honest, I love this. It's a great take on a black suit, but as per usual with Colman, he makes it interesting. It's this fully crystalled blazer, and then he has a matching pair of gloves, Stan. He's wearing his Omega watch over the glove, Stan, and I like the jewelry that comes out from Boucheron around the pussy bow blouse tie thing. The pant fit is phenomenal. The pants also allow the jacket really to take center stage. The fit of the jacket and the length of the jacket also is kind of amazing because it really does sort of give an hourglass figure to him. I also think that the shoulder pads being built out too really, really helps. All in all, like, this man, he really truly does no wrong. Next up, we have Doja Cat, who is wearing Balmain and jewelry by Yeprem. I enjoy the nude body dress that is a fully crystallized dress. And again, it goes back to what I was saying about Camila before. I think that there are ways to go about like taking on the body and expressing the body and all that jazz without actually like having to show the body. And this is again another perfect example. The fact that these crystals make up what looks to be female form is kind of miraculous and cool and different and interesting. And yes, it's a little like sexy, but it's also not scantily clad by any means. Like the dress fits her phenomenally. The neckline is not super high, but I mean, it's definitely not plunging or exposing anything. I like the fact that also it's been crystallized at an angle so that it almost looks like she's leaning on one leg no matter if she is or isn't leaning on that leg. It's the way that this print or pattern has been made through the crystals that allows it to have this sort of sensual, sexy, sort of like hip expose, hip bump bump, hip bump kind of vibe. I think it looks miraculous on her. I also like the jewelry. I like that double coil necklace. I think the earrings look great too. All in all, very enjoyable from Doja. Next up, we have Dwayne Wade. He's wearing Prada. I know that Dwayne Wade is a very tall man. I have been forced to watch basketball documentaries, so I know a lot more about Dwayne Wade than I ever did before. I do think that suiting for very tall men can sometimes be actually quite difficult, but I think Prada did a good job. I think the pants are a little thin, but at the same time, he is so tall that when you have legs like that, you got legs for days. It's okay for them to look a little tight because they're not too tight. I think the jacket fits well. It's again a tuxedo. At least there's that little jewel situation brooch thing on. I like that bird with a gigantic jewel. I wish a bird would carry a gigantic jewel in my direction. Birds, if you're listening, let me know. Next up, we have Elle Fanning, who is wearing Givenchy. Now, this we saw before the actual debut of Sarah Burton as Givenchy. This was kind of like the second preview behind her look, and then also Timothée Chalamet's look. So this was like, I guess, the third preview of what was to come. But I think the dress is nice. It's not like so amazing. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. It's a strapless black lace dress with sequins on it. There is this red band that wraps around the waist and has a flat bow in the front. And then from the back, pretty positive, it's what we saw from the first Oscars look, where there's that sort of gathered train ruffle that helps to build out this very A-line silhouette in the gown. The matching red shoes I actually think are quite nice. I'm interested to see the shoe development at Givenchy. This does remind me of some of the things that we saw on the runway, but it has that Givenchy logo band across the top of it, so I enjoy that. It's not gaggy, but it's certainly not bad, and it is getting back to the origin of really simple, beautiful haute couture that Hubert de Givenchy was known for, so it's cute. And also, she's wearing Cartier. We can see, I think maybe the necklace could have been a little bit grander. It's very thin, very small, and it is pretty, but something a little bigger with a red jewel could help. Next up, we have Emma Chamberlain. She is wearing Jean Paul Gaultier and jewelry by David Yurman. I think she looks fantastic. I love this on her. I think this sort of beige leather can be a very difficult color to pull off, but the fact that, again, you have this corset detailing, this is by Ludovic de Saint-Sernin. He was the guest designer for Gaultier, so that's kind of why you have this look. But I think that this lacing corset detail is very synonymous with Gaultier, and I like the fact that it's sexy. I like the fact that it comes along the hip area and then moves all the way down the skirt. I think that it's smart. I think it's a cool way, again, to do this corset lacing thing that we see all the time, but it's a little more interesting. It showcases the hip. It's something that the lacing of a corset usually doesn't go along the front area of a hip and move down the pelvis. Like, that's the antithesis of what a corset usually does. So again, I like this idea of defying that. I think that the bodice fits her fantastically. I also love the little collared necklace thing. It brings back a little bit of what's going on up top. I think the hair and the jewels all work with it really, really well. I thought she looked great. Next up, we have Erica Pelosini, who is wearing LaQuan Smith and Reposy jewelry. This dress was always a difficult dress. Itty bitty teeny weeny bra dress kini is hard to associate with. And then on top of it, I think the big cutout, the fact that the sleeves fit the way that they fit, and there's a zipper on the sleeve too, so like it shouldn't even fit like that. I think this is a great example of showing off the body, but like not making it worth it, not making it interesting. The cut isn't really well done. It's a weird dress. Next up, we have Gabrielle Union, who is wearing Carolina Herrera. This is fresh off the runway, and jewelry by Tiffany & Co. I do wish that the necklace was gold. It's a white gold with crystals on it, but I do think that it clashes a bit with the gold flowers on the dress. But I love the dress. I like that scoop neckline. It's really subtle. It's really lovely. I think that the meandering vinage of these gold flowers is really lovely. I think the spiral works. I think it fits her fantastically. Just hot, sexy, gorgeous, classy, interesting all around. Next up, we have Hannah Einbinder, who is wearing custom Louis Vuitton and jewelry by Sophie Buhai. It's a tough dress because it is like weird and it's kind of out there. It's this sheer black dress with a sort of green shell gown underneath, but the sheer black dress is covered by all these different gigantic fake crystals, like gem appliques. I think it's almost Boyle-esque in a weird way, and I think it's just because the green color. Thank God they're not red, otherwise. Odd dress, weird. Normally that's kind of what we get from LV, and I feel like Hannah Einbinder is very much so like she goes for it always, so I appreciate what we're trying to do. I just think the colors, the shell dress underneath it, there's just something a little crinkly wrinkly about it. Maybe if the silhouette was kind of different, it would play out a little more, but no. It's not for me. Next up, we have Jenna Ortega, who is wearing vintage Donna Karan, as well as jewelry by Pomellato and some Louboutins, which you can't really see, but still, I think the dress is nice. Does it look a little bit gathered rags? Yeah, sure, but as far as dirty gathered rags go, it's pretty looking. You could do worse things with dirty gathered rags. Honestly, the bodice really is quite phenomenal. I think the skirt is lovely. I think maybe where I'm lost a little bit is the fact that excess fabric that moves from that off-the-shoulder sort of drape down the front of the bust and then into where the gathering and ruching clearly comes in. That's my big issue. I maybe wouldn't have, well, I probably would have minded it from where it is around the pelvis area, but I think I would have minded it less. The grass is always greener. Right now the grass looks really green from taking off bodice, bust, shoulder part. But I actually don't mind the color, and I think it's because it's varied. I think there's darker hues, there's grays almost, in with this dirty beige. And I know I keep calling it dirty, but like it looks dirty. I'm sorry, it's what it looks like. But I think it looks quite good on her. I think the fit is fantastic. I think the gathering really is quite luscious. It looks luxurious. I don't think that the jewelry, the hair, the makeup fight for attention whatsoever. I think they let the dress do its thing, so I enjoyed. Next up, we have Jodie Turner-Smith, who is wearing Vivienne Westwood, as well as jewelry by Pasquale Bruni and David Webb. Here's the thing. I actually love this dress, except for the big drape on the hip area. If you were to take that off, I would call her the queen of the night. I love this draped one shoulder. The asymmetry is beautiful. I like that it wraps around. It's quite soft and regal, and then it turns into a stole of sorts. It's kind of fantastic. I think that the necklace, it works. It's a beautiful necklace in and of itself. That big, I'm assuming an emerald sitting in there, also wonderful, but doesn't fight with the neckline, which clearly like does sort of encapsulate the head, the clavicle, the bust area. But besides that one singular part, she looks amazing. Next up, we have Julia Garner, who is wearing Gucci and jewelry by Pasquale Bruni. I also really love this dress. I think that these light feathers on this halter neck silhouette really, really work. I think that they're full and thick, and they really do sort of create a coat of sorts. It's really, it looks real. She looks like a big, beautiful white chicken. I think it looks lovely on her. I think that feathers also can sometimes exaggerate the silhouette, and sometimes it doesn't work, and I think this really was done well. It looks full, lovely, sweet. I think that the way that it fades away right at the top of the neck also is kind of perfect, because then it doesn't look like she has a beard. It's everything you want, you know? Everything you want. Next up, we have Katy Perry, who's wearing Miss Sohi, and Orlando Bloom, who's wearing Brioni. The suit is fine. It's a Brioni suit. It's not really super exciting. I wish there was something different about it, but like, does it look awful on him? No, of course not. But as for Katy, it looks a little bit albino crocodile, but it's all embellished. So like, the reason that it looks like that is these, I don't know if they're resin or acrylic plates that are all over the dress. I think it's also that she's turned inward that makes it feel a little less exciting, and also maybe it's like the lack of a necklace that really helps to draw you in. Maybe it's the hair, I don't know. There's something about it just feels kind of plain, even though it's actually like beautifully embellished, that it's there. Next up, we have Lil Nas X. He's wearing Balmain. I actually enjoy this. I think this high-waisted pant, it's wide leg. I think the crop jacket that still is quite boxy and architectural with the little armbands, actually. Those coppery armbands I think are quite lovely. Seems to be wearing some sort of rib knit waist vest thing that I think is quite intriguing. I wish that the shirt was not undone, rather just buttoned, and then as soon as you get inside, unbutton it. I don't care. I don't look at the inside pictures. Wear a bow tie. It's fine. You take it off immediately. You can make your own. They'll never know the difference, and then you throw it away as soon as you get it. Just throw it in the trash. For me, just get a little bow tie made for yourself, and you keep it, and then as soon as you're done, you chuck it, and then we're gonna be also happy. So besides that, it's nice. Lupita Nyong'o, she's wearing Chanel. I can't. She's also wearing Chanel jewelry. This has the makings of like, it could be good. And then there's just something that we actively say, no, you're not going to look good. We're going to make it look terrible. Rough loofah. This is not the accurate way to use feathers. Somebody died for this, okay? So we use them in the right manner. It is not a good thing to kill a living being and then waste the parts on something ugly. It's this feather neckline off the shoulder bit that you can still see the black straps on. Grotesque. Then it's a white embellished bodice that also then flows into a black silk band around the waist, but you can see that it's puckering on her. So like, why did you put the black band there? Then it ombres. I like the white into gray into black ombre on the skirt. It's just, why did we have to add the chiffon under it? Like, if we're gonna do cocktail dress, just do cocktail dress, or just do a full length gown. But you cannot have every single fabric on the garment. And I don't know, again, like Chanel team, we have the whole thing of like, she said it, and I quote, her name is on the goddamn doorway. It says, Chanel, take one thing off before you leave. You don't do that when we're sketching a look? Where's Mathieu? Where is he? Next up, we have Monica Barbaro. She is wearing Dolce & Gabbana and a little bit of Bulgari jewelry. Can't really see enough of the Bulgari jewelry. I wish there was a necklace. But I think my issue with this dress is, from afar, it looks a little hairy. It's a fully crystalled style. It looks a little bit hairy. I think that's my one problem. I can't tell if it's because we used a silver that it looks like this, or if it's just not as dense as it could be. The dress is white, and then the hair is growing out of the white dress, and it's a silver. She dresses in its silver fox era. Next up, we have Rachel Zegler, who is wearing vintage Alexander McQueen and some Chopard jewelry. I don't love it. I understand the halter. I understand the chicken feather ruffle beduffle, gathering, whatever, and then the lace underneath, but I think it looks a little busy. I think that the lace gathered chiffon thing goes on a little too long when it hits the knee, and now you need full of that. The lace falling in and taking me out of the fantasy, allegedly. I'm bored. And also, it looks weird. Proportionally, it looks weird. Thank God Alexander McQueen is dead, because that man would literally eat me up every day of the week when I think about it. So it's something about the fact that we couldn't just do full gathered thing. And then with the dress, I don't know if it's her, but it's not, they don't blend well to me. But what I do think blends well is Rosalia and Dilara Findicoglu. I love this dress. This is a similar version of the dress that we saw on Julia Fox. It's not similar, it's just the same designer, but it's this idea of sheer pieces, but it has this sort of like Victorian romantic moment underneath where you can see the corset, you see this beautiful white chemisey sort of style, but then it's overlaid with this grayish sheer fabric that like sucks to the body. It almost looks wet. The fact that as you move down the dress, you can see those underpinnings and underlayings almost like deteriorating off of Rosalia. It looks like they're ripped and torn, and then at the same time they're vacuum packed by the fabric on top. It's cool, and I think that's the wonderful thing about Dilara, is like she is her own universe and world, and it feels interesting and new and like something I haven't really seen before. So I loved it. It was super weird and strange, but also like hauntingly beautiful. So if you do hauntingly beautiful well, I'm in. Next up, we have Tate McRae, who is wearing Nicole Rose jewelry and Rainbow K jewelry. I think it's nice. It's a Ludovic de Saint-Cernin gown. It's an Oroton sort of material chainmail. It's form-fitting and flattering. As far as like reheating Versace's nachos go, it's not done poorly. It fits well, clearly an understanding of the material, clearly an understanding of how to actually make it fit well. I like the slit. It's not the most exciting Oroton dress ever, but at the same time, like, she kind of needs to do like hot, sexy vixen, and she's doing it. So I'm into it. But I would like to see her push a little bit more. Next up, we have Tracee Ellis Ross, who is wearing Alexandre Vauthier and Boucheron jewelry. I enjoyed this. Like, it's fun and fringy and kooky and crazy, but also it's very Tracee Ellis Ross. I love the necklace. I like that big thick necklace with the black and white bands. In movement, it's really interesting too because she really, again, she understands how to play. She walk Mugler like Tracy Ellis Ross knows how to do it. I like it. The color could have been maybe a little bit more sparkly, but as far as beige goes, like, it's not bad. And last but not least, we have to talk about Zoe Kravitz. She is wearing custom Saint Laurent, and from the front, you're like, oh, it's a black fitted dress, okay. And then she turned around, and there's butthole cut out. Maybe not a butthole cut out, but a butt cheek, butt crack cut out. This is actually a vintage Saint Laurent too, so in case anybody's like, oh, people these days, they're so disgusting and awful. Monsieur Saint Laurent, in his ancient decrepit little self, made that bad girl, so do with that what you will. But I love it. It's cheeky, literally, figuratively. It's fun. It made me laugh when I saw it. It's like ridiculous and stupid, and I'm thrilled by it. And I love that a 74-year-old man was like, yeah. Like, let's just do a sheer panel and leave the butthole out. Like, fantastic. Literally fantastic. I love everything about it. It's, again, dumb and stupid and makes me laugh. It makes me chuckle, and I have to blur her butt cheeks, but like, whatever. I think Zoe's pulling it off. So let's talk about best and worst, because that is the end of the video. Best, I'm putting Zoe's butt cheeks in there. I'm gonna put Emma Chamberlain. I will put Gabrielle Union. I will put Jodie Turner-Smith, even though I didn't love the bump. Oh, Julia Garner, really enjoyed. Rosalia Colman. Oh, and Camila Cabello. As for worst, there wasn't like that much. I'm gonna put Erica Pelosini. I'm gonna put Monica Barbaro, Lupita, Hannah Einbinder, Rachel Zegler. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. This is the last of our Vanity Fair videos. Thank goodness. Only like 2.5 weeks late, so yeah. But we have some good videos coming up, so keep it tuned. I'll see you guys in the next one, and TTYL.